Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. Hello around America and and actually the world. Though we got people tuning in all over the country and all over the world. So we're very fortunate to have you join us. Our show is about providing financial information for people and hoping that you can do it and invest and build wealth and also create generational wealth. Just want to give you a disclaimer. We're not fiduciaries. We're not licensed financial advisors. We don't not consider ourselves financial advisors. We consider ourselves financial educators. So keep that in mind when we give you information because we realize in the position that we're in that there's no one size fit all. There's no one plan for any one particular, one plan that fits all people. Let me put it that way. So, but we try to give you information that you can use and apply it. And we're hoping that you share this information when you go out there. Just a couple of things like you to click on the like button and the heart button. That's so important because that helps us reach more people when you do that. And we try to make this interactive. And the way we do that is if you put comments in the comment box, you can respond, opinion on anything we're talking about, or if you have a topic or something you want us, or question that you have, you would like for us to clarify it for you. So please use these as much as you can because it definitely helps us reach more people. That's how the algorithms work. How are you today, Thomas Doty?
I'm happy to be alive, man. I'm in Cleveland visiting my mom.
Oh man, that's great. How old is your mother now?
104.
Whoa, good gracious alive. That says a lot for you, Dote. That means you got some long-standing genes there, bro.
Hope so.
Yeah, no question. So last week, ladies and gentlemen, our topic was robo advisors, hands off investing. Um, 10 years ago, a financial company came up with robo advisors where you actually use technologies, and it was very simple, less fees, and very useful tool if you're a person that are hands off or feel you don't have the expertise. And we hope that was very useful. But today we have a really, really interesting topic, and it's should you save or invest? Though a lot of people always are asking us questions, especially when it comes to saving and investing, and we hope we be able to answer those questions that you have out there today. Remember, put them in the comment box should you want to have some additional questions. So, though, how we always start, off the top with the stock market. And we're hoping you got some good news for us today.
It depends on where you're investing because the market has been going very, very well, but the so-called Magnificent Seven has not been doing that well. So let's take a closer look. The broad market has been doing pretty good. And as you can see, the S&P is actually flat, which is really, really crazy. Chances of that have to be slim and none. But the NASDAQ is actually down slightly, almost 1%. And some of the big boys are having some struggles. Microsoft's down 14. The new stock I bought, Brady, is down 4 points. Apple's up 1. Hewlett Packard's up 1. NVIDIA is actually flat. They announced earnings down slightly. And even though they basically doubled their revenue, the stock didn't react accordingly because the guidance that they gave was only that they're only going to grow revenue by 70%, which I'm not sure what was expected, but that was obviously a letdown. Google took a hit. There's more talk in the Justice Department about making them break up the company, actually. And actually, the Justice Department is saying they may have to sell the Chrome part. From what you read, if you do a lot of reading about it, you think the thought is a lot of this will blow over. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. And we have a newie but an oldie, and that's Pfizer. I think I told you guys I sold Pfizer a little over a month ago. I sold it at about 30. And I had lost money on that, but that selling at 30 and then waiting 30 days to buy it again, I bought back in at 25 and about another 1,000 shares of Pfizer at 25. Now, you say, why did you go back in? Well, I still think it's a good stock. And because it went down 5 points, and luckily I was out when it went down those 5 points. And a lot of that's related to the vaccine and the new head of Health and Human Services and all that stuff. So I think all the pharmaceuticals took a little hit. But with the stock having dropped to 25, the dividend on that stock is now 6.5%. So that's a pretty sweet investment to be able to make 6.5% with also the possibility of upside. So I'm back into Pfizer, hoping it does well. We'll see how it shakes out. But I thought that was a good buy for me, and I got back in. So all in all, the market is the broad market is really, really strong. There's expectations that some of the smaller stocks will do a lot better under the Trump administration, and a lot, less regulations and some of the other things that's going on. But a couple of things. The Magnificent Seven has started to kind of not go up as much as it had been going up. It hasn't been taking part in this big push the last couple of weeks, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. And plus, there's going to be some reckoning if Trump indeed exports 12 million people who actually support several businesses, construction, landscape,
farming,
the fruit, the fruit pickers and farming in general, things about farmers. So they actually support a lot of business, and a lot of those businesses are having trouble keeping / getting people. So if he does this mass export of people, it may create some hardship on those businesses. So we'll have to watch and see how that shakes out. So all in all, the market's moving well. Again, the tech stocks aren't growing like they have. Year to date, they still are fantastic. They're still, you have to look at the big picture. It's one of the reasons why we always talk about being diversified. When certain segments of the market are going down, other segments are going up. You never want to be too heavily invested in one segment of the market. So that's where we are. We'll have to see how things continue to shake. And Bob, you got all the good news with the Bitcoin, right?
Sure do. But quick question, though. What's your
Yes,
feeling
sir.
about Pfizer? Do you think it's going to be up, it's going to help it or not help it with Robert Kennedy Jr. being possibly selected for the leading the health
I
department?
think that part of it's going to have no effect at all. I think they're going to continue to do what they do. They were starting to make less and less money off of the vaccines. And I think they have some, supposedly. I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't expect it to do well. But I'm satisfied with the dividend at 6.5. Any additional growth I get will just make me even happier.
And one more thing for some people that might be their first time on it, can you just give us again what the Magnificent Seven is made
Say
up
that
of?
again, Bob.
Can you give us what the Magnificent Seven composed of, so people who might be on here for the first time?
We got Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Google, Meta, Facebook, and I'm missing one. Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA,
Amazon,
Google, Amazon, Meta, and Facebook. Was Meta
right?
Facebook? Yeah, Meta and Facebook. Yeah, those are the
Meta
seven.
is Facebook, right?
Oh, is
Is it
it?
Meta Facebook?
No, I thought one of them was Twitter. Or
No, Twitter is Threads.
Okay, then I'm missing one then. Hold on, let me take a look.
Right, just for people in case they, when you use that term. But while you're looking for that, I'm just going to go
Yeah, you go ahead and talk
into,
about Bitcoin.
yeah. So, cryptocurrency, you all. Cryptocurrency is up 341 billion market cap. That's 11%. And the number one cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. It is up 12%, up $10,525 a coin from last week. It's now up to $98,472. Now, I got in just before the pandemic, around about 219 at 29,000. So it's looking pretty good. And Dope got in at an even better amount. So Ethereum, which is smart contracts, is up 8%. The Dogecoin, which is a meme coin, and it's up, went from the number 8 position to the number 7 position. So thank God for people who was holding Dogecoin, but it's still holding at 38 cents, but it was as low as 10 cent a coin. So the cryptocurrency is doing very well. As for you people that we told you to hold in for the long play. And that's the day, because tomorrow it could drop all the way back down to almost zero, because that's how cryptocurrency is. But for you people who are in the cryptocurrency, and me and Dope, we sort of cover the top 10 cryptocurrencies. There's over about 8,000. It's about 45,000, but there's only about 9,000 that are active. And we just cover the top, as you can see here, 7. But yeah, cryptocurrency is doing really well. I want to remind y'all, we talk about commodities like gold and silver. Usually the market goes up as an inverted effect, and gold go down, but gold kind of went down, but it's back up to $2,600 per ounce, and silver is up about $31 an ounce. So if you got a diverse portfolio, with me and Dote always talk about, you're doing well. But remember what we said: no risk it, no biscuit.
Hey, Tesla's the one I forgot.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think I put that out of my mind because I sold it just because I thought Elon Musk was a knucklehead. And so
right.
I got out of Tesla, and I try to put it out of my mind because it's doing tremendous. I mean, it's making a lot of money for stockholders, but just not interested in holding that particular stock.
Yes, it is. So, though, let's get into our topic today. Should you save or invest? Interesting title, right?
And that's a good question. And no matter what part of your life you're in, you should be balancing and looking at those two things to decide whether you should be saving or investing. And that's how you grow wealth, through saving/investing. And so you have to balance what you save versus what you invest. And so if your goal is to grow your nest egg, or save for college, or saving for retirement, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure you're maximizing what you're saving. And hopefully when you die, you'll have a nice hunk of money to leave for your children or loved ones. And the basic difference between saving and investing is probably the risk you take. How much risk you're going to take doing those two. So when we talk about savings tonight, we're more pointing to secure accounts, things like high yield savings accounts, things that are more guaranteed or less likely to fold, or certificates of deposits, or government treasuries. And in those, you earn modest returns, but the returns are guaranteed. You'll probably earn anywhere between 0 and 5%. And saving in these types of vehicles involves little or no risk, okay, to losing your principal. You're gonna keep what you start with. On the other hand, when you talk about investing, that involves buying assets, things like stocks, bonds, crypto, commodities, all those types of things. And those can earn higher returns. Their returns on average range between 7 to 10% over the last almost 100 years. But investing comes with some risk. So there's a chance that you can lose value when the particular market you're invested in goes down. So that's the basic difference between those two.
So,
saving and investment.
so if you're not sure whether it's time for you to start investing or if you should focus on saving, the answer depends on your goals, your risk tolerance, which me and Dote always talk about, you need to know, and your financial situation. Like I said, everybody's situation is different. But understanding the difference between saving and investing is essential to ensure financial security and to secure a bright future. Now, though these terms are sometimes used interchangeably, saving and investing, it's important to note that they are very different. Both savings and investing are critical elements of your personal finance. Now, each approach has its own pros and cons, and it's important to find the right balance, though. That's the key that works for your financial situation and goals. Now, ultimately, a well rounded approach that includes both savings and investing can help build wealth, protect against future shocks. We always talk about that. Doesn't matter, who's in office, a pandemic, a tsunami. If you have the right mix, you can withstand future financial shocks. And it also provides a solid foundation for a more secure financial future. So let's take a closer look, though, and
Yeah.
look
If I
how it compares.
if you look at the basic differences between the savings account, your savings account, your money stays protected. For example, if you take 10,000 bucks and you deposit that money into a high yield savings account, you're going to earn probably around 4%. Your money's going to be insured by the FDIC up to $250,000, and that's per account at that particular bank. And see, investing works differently. That same $10,000 invested in a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds, it can gain or lose money, and it can gain a whole lot and it can lose a whole lot. Nothing protects you against any loss in value. And, when market conditions pop up, I think last week they talked about Putin dropping a nuclear bomb and the market reacted very unfavorably. It dropped a whole bunch of points. But some of the good, solid investment platforms are going to offer what's called SPIC insurance, and that's the Securities Investor Protection Corporation. That's going to protect your account up to 500,000, including 250,000 in cash. But that's if the company that you're invested in goes under. Okay. Another big difference between the two is the taxes you pay, and that's another thing that people don't look at, but they should. Okay. So if you get interest from a savings account or that CD that we talked about earlier, that money gets taxed as ordinary income. So what does that mean? That means if you're in the 22% tax bracket, if you in that example I gave before, you're gonna pay $220 in taxes for every $1,000 in interest earned. Okay. Well, investments offer bigger breaks when it comes to taxes, more favorable especially if you leave the money invested for over a year. Okay. And that's where you get those capital gains tax, and you will actually pay a little bit less than you would pay under the case of paying it at ordinary income. Okay. And so the long term capital gains rates, depending on how much you make, it's based on your earnings, could be either 0%, 15%, or 20%. Okay. So, for example, a married couple with a taxable income of up to $94,000 in 2024 would pay zero taxes on a capital gain. And even the 15% tax rate, it goes up to almost $500,000 for a married couple. That means you only pay 15%. And you compare that to the 22% you would be paying on ordinary income. That's a 7% savings. That's huge. Okay. So it's something that really makes a difference in how you earn your money and how much of your money you keep. Because you got to pay Uncle Sam. And your goal should be to be as tax efficient as possible, make as much money as you possibly can, given your particular risk tolerance. Let's take a look at the summary of that, Bob. This talks about some of the pros and cons of each. If you look at a savings account, The risk on that is going to be none to low. On investments, it could be moderate to high, depending on how you're invested. If you look at access to your money, in most savings vehicles, you're going to have immediate access to your money, probably within a few days. But with investing, you might have to wait a few days to liquidate and then receive your funds. And you might not be able to wait if you have an emergency. If you look at your returns, if you're in a high yield savings account, you're going to get 4 to 5%. If you're in a regular bank savings account, you're going to get closer to 0 or 1%. But in investing, most investment vehicles average between 7 and 10%. Look at insurance for the savings. You're going to have FDIC insurance up to $250,000 per depositor per bank against bank failure. With investing, SPIC insurance protects up to $500,000, including up to $250,000 in cash for in case the brokerage firm goes under. Okay, if you look at income potential, these you're gonna get fixed interest payments, a certain amount every so often, depending on the terms of your agreement. But with investing, you can get dividends, you can get capital gains, and both of those are taxed favorably, as I'll mention in a minute. Tax treatment, interest is treated as ordinary income versus various tax treatment, short-term and long-term capital gains. And the other big advantage has, even if you have a loss, that allows you to take some more risk because you can reduce your taxable income with that particular loss. And finally, what are they best for? Savings is best for emergency funds and when you need money in the short term, whereas investing is best for long-term growth.
Wow, that's quite a bit. So, Doug, I want to talk about drawbacks, benefits of drawbacks of. Wait, no, we're going. Oh, yes, the benefits or drawbacks of saving. Okay, now the benefits and the drawbacks on saving. Let's say that you set aside $10,000 in a high yield savings account, and right now those are running about 4.5% annual percentage rate. So that means you earn on that $10,000, $450 in guaranteed interest over the first year while keeping your money protected. Now, if your car breaks down on Sunday afternoon, you can quickly take out, yeah, speaking about cars breaking down, you can quickly take out money of your savings. Plus, even if your bank runs into trouble, the FDIC insures your savings at member institutions up to $250,000 per depositor per bank. Now, however, keeping too much money in savings can cost you over time. Just think about it. The same $10,000 kept in a savings account over 10 years, even at, a record, 4.5%, it would grow about $15,300. So check that out, right? 15,000. That's $10,000 in 10 years, 4.5%. While this might sound good, if inflation averages 3% annually, your money purchasing power wouldn't grow as much because, say, you're making 4.5, and if it's 3% inflation, you're really only making 1.5, right? So the purchasing power of your money is not the same. Meaning, if goods are cost higher, it's going to be costing you more money. Now, the Federal Reserve recent rate cuts have already pushed high yield savings rates down from their decade highs. And don't forget about taxes. If you fall in the 22% tax bracket, and the tax brackets for 2024, and they may stay the same in 2025, I think it's 10, 12, 15, 22, 24, 32, or 37, somewhere like that, right? Now, if you fall in a 22% bracket, you owe $99 on a $450 interest return. Now, that leaves you $351 after earnings. That's why savings work best for building an emergency fund or storing money that you might need soon. Though I want to go to one of the slides here. Let me pull it up here right quick, kind of so we can visually see what I'm talking about. Right here, the pros, the benefits, the benefits and drawbacks of saving. The pros are it's predictable interest payments, right? Because the con is smaller growth potential than investments. Like those said, some investments are returning on average 7-10%, and recently about 15-20%. One of the pros of savings is immediate, like we talked about quick funds. But the con is the annual percentage rates typically react to Fed decisions. So you might be getting 4.5% today, but if they lower the rates again, you might be down to about maybe 3.5 or 3%. And the pros is it's insured by the FDIC. The con is the interest tax is ordinary income, different than the capital gains, like Doak said, which is 0, 15, and 20.
Okay, now let's talk about some of the benefits and drawbacks of investing, particularly. Um, our favorite saying is "no risk it, no biscuit." So, investing always opens doors to making more money, but that comes with with some risk. Now, that extra money can outpace inflation, and it can grow meaningfully over time. For example, if you invest $10,000 in a diversified portfolio, and you earn an average of 8%. That's going to grow to about 21,600 over 10 years. And if you've been watching our show, you understand the rule of 72s. You could take that same 8%, and that's going to tell you your money's going to double every 9 years. So that's another way of looking at it. And we've already mentioned investment returns comes with tax advantages. So qualified dividends and long-term capital gains are both taxed at lower rates than ordinary income. And plus, even though you don't have that FDIC insurance, you do have that SPIC, and so that should give you, excuse me, some peace of mind. But just remember, this insurance doesn't protect you against market loss. There is no protection against market loss. Okay, your value can drop anytime. It can be a national disaster. There can be a political upheaval. A lot of things can happen that can cause your money to drop. So you have to have the stomach for it. You have to understand your risk tolerance and invest money that could possibly go down in value. Okay. With most money investments, there's typically a 2 to 3 day time frame for your money to clear or settle is the actual term they use. And it's pretty much down to 2 days. But if you're dealing with checks and things like that, it might take you a little bit longer. And the other things about investing is you have to have the expertise. This isn't something you can just close your eyes and throw a dart at a list of stocks and pick something for you. If you're doing it yourself, you have to do research, or you have to hire a financial advisor. As we talked about last week, you can use a robo advisor, or you have to buy mutual funds. Either case, you'll have to do some sort of investigation or some sort of analysis to determine which investment vehicle is best for you. So let's take a quick look at the pros and cons. Obviously, you got a potential for higher returns, and that's going to beat inflation, and it's going to be much higher than what you'd earn just in a savings account of any type. But the con is you could lose it. You could lose a good portion of it. You got tax advantages, but you don't have access to your money immediately. Next, you have SPIC insurance, SIPC insurance, or protection up to $500,000, including 250 in cash. But the con is it may cost you money or it may cost you time to invest in gaining knowledge and experience. And that still doesn't guarantee that you won't lose money, but you will be able to make more wiser decisions if you have the requisite expertise and if you've done your homework.
Yeah. I want to talk about 3 smart savings options for steady returns. And it's well, let me just talk about the first one. High yield savings accounts. We mentioned that a little earlier. High yield savings accounts, as opposed to traditional savings accounts, which pay right now less than 1%, right? But they pay several times the interest of traditional banks pay on deposits. You can typically find savings accounts with high yields at local credit unions and online banks, making them a great parking lot for accessible cash. Now, most high yield savings accounts require no minimum balance, or they charge no more monthly fees. They do not charge any monthly fees, and they are often around about 4% or more right now. In some places you can actually get 5.3%, but you have to search. But the key is make sure whether it's a commercial bank or credit union. For commercial banks, you make sure it is insured by the FDIC. And if it's a credit union, the equivalent for the FDIC insurance for credit unions is the NCUA, National Credit Union Association. They both insure up to $250,000. Now, this is plain and simple. If you got a $10,000 balance, this is how it can grow. It earns 4% versus the traditional savings account that earns 0.1%, right? So check this out, okay? Um, Hold on. Okay. Ooh, my screen is kind of zeroed out. Sorry. I want to show y'all so you can see this visually, because sometimes visually helps you a little bit better because we're giving you a lot of information. But um, so now this is how it works. Now, if you have 10,000 balance, this is how it can grow in a high yield savings account versus just having it in a traditional account, just giving you, like I said, less than 1%, 1% or less. This is showing a 3-year period, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. At 4%, you're going to make $10,500. On a regular traditional account, 10,000 in 1 year and $1. and look at after 3 years, $11,249 at 4%. And then in 3 years, just $3. And look at the last, $12,167 at 4% after 5 years, and only $10,005, you all. And the thing is, banks don't tell you this, that you can move your money into a high yield account. They don't tell you to move it in, but you have that money sitting there. And this is the difference between, look at that, 0.01% and 4%. That is very powerful, though, especially the risk is almost zero to none because it's insured by the FDIC or the National Credit Union Association if the bank goes under. And it just makes no sense to be having your money sitting in a traditional account when you could be getting 4%. And this just shows you, um, you know, how much difference it is or how much money you're losing by not.
Yeah. Let's talk for a minute about CDs, and most people are familiar with those. And that's basically a savings tool where it's a simple trade-off. You agree to lock away your money for a particular amount of time in exchange for a guaranteed percentage. Okay? And you can find CDs with all kind of terms at most financial institutions, but the best rates are usually at local credit unions or online banks. Your local banks typically do not offer the best terms, mostly because they don't have to. People don't take the initiative to go find that higher interest rates. A lot of people go to the banks just because they're used to doing that. They always talk about the hardest thing to do. The hardest things to do are get a divorce and change your banking account. And most people don't like to do either of those. They all come with a lot of work. And so CDs become valuable when interest rates are declining if you have a high rate locked in already. As they cut interest rates, if you already have a CD, you're going to continue to earn that higher rate, even though the rates have been cut, if your CD isn't callable. And that's one of the things you have to make sure when you sign up for your CD is that it's not callable. And what that means is if interest rates drop, they can say, whoops, deal is over. You don't have that CD anymore. Here's your money back, because they don't want to pay you a higher rate than they're paying people walking in the door that day. And so if you open a CD and it's 4.5%, and you'll keep earning that rate even for a year if the rates drop during that year, if it's not callable. And so the rate the rate protection helps preserve your higher interest rates in falling interest rate environments. So if you can lock in long terms, you're in pretty good shape. The problem with that is you don't really know if interest rates, they may take a turn and go the other way. And if you're locked in with a lower interest rate, then you might not be too happy. But you always got to read the fine print with these CDs. You got to find out if it's callable. You have to see what the early withdrawal penalties are in case you need to get access to your money. You want to know how much you'll have to pay. And in those kind of situations, that's kind of where having ladders comes in handy, having CD ladders. And what that means is you buy rates over a period of time during, when interest rates are changing. And so for example, you could buy one CD um, at 12 months at a certain interest rate, but your money's locked up for that 1 year. You don't have access to it. And you don't have any flexibility if interest rates change. And so one way you could go about it is buy a different CD. If you have $10,000 to invest, you could buy a a 3-month CD at 4 different time periods. So you'll have money maturing every 3 months. Okay. So you'll have money put away, but you'll also have money maturing every 3 months. And so an example here, you have a 3-month CD at $2,500. Its interest rate is 4.5. You buy another one 3 months later, its interest rate is 4.35. 3 months later, 4.25. 3 months later, interest rates drop to 4%. But your overall average for that 10,000 is 4.28%. So it's better than 4%. It's not as good as the 4.5 you started with, but it's still better than the 4% that interest rates ended up with, and you have access to your money every 3 months.
So, Doe, um, I want to take the moment to reiterate this point of uh, savings accounts, high yield savings accounts, and CDs. Because right now, with the Federal Reserve talking about lowering rates, if you have, say, a high yield savings account of 4.5% and they lower the rates, the good thing is on loans and things like that, it's great because the rates are going to lower. But on like CDs and on, not CDs, excuse me, on savings accounts and money markets, the interest rate's going to go down. So one of the strategies is to leave your money in a CD. Like Doe said, you can do the latter or just get one CD that's 6 months or 8 months. They got 8-month CDs or a year and lock it in. That way, if they lower the rates, you'll keep, let's say it's at 4.5%. So just want y'all to understand that strategy there. If you just want to lock in and get that rate, and that's a big difference. You got $10,000, 4.5%. That's $450. You didn't do anything. So I just want to reiterate on that particular point. Doe, we talked about 3 ways of low saving options for savings. Let's talk about 3 low risk investment options for higher potential growth. And I want to just speak about dividend paying stocks. You mentioned this before a couple of times, Doe, in the last few weeks about dividend stocks. And they work just like regular stocks in that they represent a piece of ownership in the company. If you have a stock and they pay dividends, then you're going to make the appreciation of the stock, and they're going to pay dividends. What makes dividend stocks stand out is that the companies offering them usually pay regular shares of their profits in the forms of dividends. They're giving it back to the people, their profit. Now, you'll typically often find dividend stocks at established companies in the utilities, consumer goods, telecommunications sector. Many companies pay out dividends every quarter. For example, if you invest $10,000 in a dividend paying stock that's paying a 4% dividend annually, you'll receive $100 every quarter for a total of $400 annually, just based on dividend payments. Not even talking about the growth of the stock per share. Now, however, your total profit from dividend stocks include any potential stock price increases on the top of the dividends you receive. Now, this can help provide even more return for your dividend stock investments. People talk about compounding interest, but a lot of people don't talk about compounding dividends. That's another way that you can increase your wealth.
Yeah, and as I mentioned at the beginning, I bought Pfizer purely as a dividend play. You know, it about 1,000 shares, it's 25 grand in Pfizer, and so I'm gonna get a 6.5% dividend per year on that stock, and I have growth potential. So it's pretty safe that it probably won't go down much more than it has already, and that they've paid dividends pretty consistently. That's something else. If you look at a dividend stock, you have to make sure they've paid dividends consistently. A lot of firms that are in trouble will pay a high dividend to make it appear that they're doing okay. So you have to make sure that company has the balance sheet to afford that dividend, and the fact that they've paid dividends for a long period of time. And the best thing to see is that a company that has increased their dividend over time. Okay. And so another vehicle you can invest in is a balanced mutual fund. And they're basically large baskets of hundreds or even thousands of stock or bonds, and they're wrapped up in a single investment. So you get great diversification. Uh, you typically will you're diversified. You're in a bunch of different segments, a bunch of different industries. Even though you can decide to invest in a particular industry or a particular region of the world, and so but a balanced mutual fund is going to have some of everything in it. It's going to have some split between stocks and bonds, and that split is going to depend on what type of mutual fund it is. You may want to be more heavily invested in stocks. You may want to be more heavily invested in bonds. It depends again on what your risk tolerance is. And so the stock market typically is going to grow. The stock part of it is typically going to grow faster. The bond market is, in most cases, or in some cases, going to be a little more secure. And so that's the good thing about mutual funds, including balanced ones, is that all the work is done for you. The only chore you have is to pick a mutual fund, or we say mutual fund, also that also could be an EFT, but that's going to give you a well diversified investment. And again, it still takes some work to decide which one to invest in. And you also have to look at what their expense ratio is to make sure you aren't paying any more than you should be paying. And so with the mutual fund, you don't have to worry about rebalancing, you don't have to worry about buying and selling stocks at a particular time, because your fund manager is controlling all that and making all those decisions. And in if you have an EFT, you're going to have a annual management fee, or in a mutual fund, you're going to have an expense ratio depending on what it is. And the other little trick with mutual funds is you're going to have mutual fund distributions, which is when they report all the gains and losses they've incurred during the year. And it's not unusual at the end of the year for a mutual fund to drop off this gain distribution, and you're wondering, wait a minute, what the heck is this? And that is just the result of all the transactions during the year, and you'll have to recognize that in most cases as a long-term gain. So just be aware of that.
So, though, one of the great things we always talk about is diversification. Now, another low risk investment option with higher growth potential is treasury bonds. Me and both don't believe in treasury bonds Bonds are a form of loans by the U.S. government. That's why they're considered among the safest investments because they're backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. These bonds pay interest every 6 months and return your principal when they mature. For instance, you got a $10,000 investment in a 5-year Treasury bond yielding 4%. That will pay $200 every 6 months for a total of $400 annually. With your $10,000 return after 5 years, Treasury bonds offer a key advantage that you won't find in any other asset. Now, the interest you receive is exempt from state and local taxes. That's a great benefit, meaning you pay only federal taxes on the earnings, that is. And this can help you lower your tax bill while investing in one of the most reliable assets out there.
Okay, let me summarize again how we talked about how the taxes work on savings and investments. Okay, savings accounts, it's going to be taxed as ordinary income. That's going to be savings accounts, CDs, money market accounts. They're all taxed as ordinary income based on how much you make. Investments, you got capital gains, you got dividends that are long-term capital gains are taxed at lower rates typically than your ordinary income. And so those are the tax advantages you pick up. Uh, and we've already talked about that, but that's a significant savings on your tax bill if you have money invested in investments versus having to pay ordinary income.
Hey, dope. I got to tell you, man, you are marvelous. Way to keep us on track. And you know what I mean. So the question is it better to save or invest money after all of this? Now, neither saving or investing is a clear standout on its own. Whether you need both to secure your retirement and future, savings provide safety and quick access to your money, ideal for emergency funds and near-term expenses. High yield savings accounts earning above national average AP annual percentage yield. It protects your principal while generating steady interest. But at the same time, investing, though riskier, offers potential for high returns that can help your money grow faster than inflation. That's why it might be smart to keep 6 months of expenses and savings for emergencies and short-term needs. Why? While investing the rest in long-term growth.
Okay, and let's be clear on this. Well, we've talked about this. I'm heavily invested in the stock market, and I'm not recommending that for anybody who doesn't have the risk tolerance for it, because you can truly lose money in the stock market if you invest in the stock. I don't want to say you expect to lose because you expect to make money. You have to be willing to accept a loss because they can happen, and so even good stocks can lose money. So I mean, there's no perfect stock. Obviously, nobody knows what the future holds. So you just need to be aware of that. And what you do to minimize your loss is you diversify. You only invest money that you can afford to lose. And if you're diversified, something is going up when something else is going down. And so your goal is to have a little money into everything. For example, I've got a little money in cryptocurrency. I've got some money in gold. They don't all go up the same time. I've got money in the Magnificent Seven. I also have money in established stocks. Nothing goes up at the same rate. If it did, investing would be very easy. You just have to understand that you have to make a good decision, and then some things are totally out of your control, like natural disasters, political upheavals, or a lot of things can happen that you have nothing to do with that can cause you to lose money. You have to be aware of that when you invest. Understand your risk tolerance and make sure it's for you. But there is a lot of money to be made in investing in the stock market.
Hey, Doe, got a question from Kitty. Kitty said, "What about Bitcoin?"
Yeah, I jumped into Bitcoin mostly because I just didn't want to miss out. It was that FOMO, fear of missing out.
Right.
And and I think I said before, I really feel that that's going to be a useful medium to exchange funds without going through a third party. That's my attraction to Bitcoin, and that I think it's a very good way to avoid going through a bank, peer-to-peer payment, not having to use a third party to get involved, who usually takes a cut of that transaction. And that's why I think Bitcoin will eventually become more mainstream as far as how money is exchanged between people and businesses. I think it's going to be big, and that's why I invested in it.
And I invested in it too. And one of the reasons why, other reasons why I invested into it was because we talked about diversification, right? And that's just another diversification tool, right? Because we have everything. We have, stocks. We got index funds, mutual funds. We got pension. We got Social Security, and we have. Did I say stocks? And we have actually bonds, and even we got commodities. So cryptocurrency just happens to be another one tool in the bag. And like we said, we invested money that we were willing to lose, and we didn't put a whole lot, but we put some money in it. And I think 4 months ago, Bitcoin was down to almost $60,000 of Bitcoin. It is now up to 98,000. That's what, $38,000 that has increased, and that's why you just never can know. So that's why Bitcoin, and it's still the number one cryptocurrency, and so that's a little bit on Bitcoin, Kitty. If you have any other questions, though, last one I want to talk about: how can you avoid taxes on retirement savings? Now, Roth IRA, we've talked about it before, but we've got to reiterate: offers one of the best ways to receive tax-free income in retirement. Unlike brokerage accounts and traditional 401ks and traditional IRAs, your money grows tax-free in a Roth IRA account, meaning that you won't owe any taxes when you withdraw funds in retirement. Now, for the tax year 2024 and 2025, you can contribute up to $7,000, and what they call catch up. If you're over 50, you can add another 1,000. You can put $8,000 into a Roth if you're over 50 years old. Now, keep in mind, Roth funds you contribute to a Roth IRA come from after-tax income, so you won't get any immediate tax break like you would with the traditional IRA or retirement accounts. So that just gives you a little rundown. I'd like to open it up, you all, before we go into the summary. Anybody have any questions? Because I know everybody here is always wondering about how much do I save? How much do I invest? Some people don't want to take the risk of investing. So we hope we answered some of your questions on savings versus investing. It's either or, but we open it up. Unfortunately, everyone doesn't qualify for a Roth. Yeah, that's true. Modestine just put in there. Unfortunately, everybody doesn't qualify for Roth. And you know why? Because you're making so much daggone money. That's the only reason why you don't qualify.
Yeah, hey Bob, just make sure you understand. There's a what's called a backdoor Roth, a way to do it. And I won't get into that now. But there's even if you make a lot of money, there's a way to get into a Roth. Even if you make a whole lot of money, it's called the backdoor Roth, and maybe we'll talk about it in the future.
You don't want to just briefly say?
No.
Okay. It's interesting though. It's
Let's
like,
wrap up.
Modestine, but there is a way that you can put money in it.
Bob, let's wrap up.
Yeah, good point. Thank you very much, though. Okay, here we go. We're taking it to the summaries, ladies and gentlemen. Are you going first, Doe, or is it me?
I think I'm first.
Okay.
The first one is know your risk. And we've talked about this, understanding what happens in the market, what can happen, the good things, the bad things. You got to accept the bad things. The bad things are going to happen. They typically don't last long, and there's usually a big recovery after that.
Okay, the key is your goals. The key is to know what your goals, whether how much you need to save, how much you need to invest. The first thing we always talk about having a plan, a financial plan, and you must understand your goals because that determines how you mix and match and use savings versus investing.
Next, you got to understand the tax benefits. I've always talked about if you're going to play a game, you got to understand the rules. In this country, with the tax system the way it is, you have to understand the taxes in order to take advantage of those tax benefits to enhance or to help you keep more of what you make, and in some cases, help you make more money just by the way you invested.
And the first step before you do anything, you must save. You got to save before you do anything. And how do you save? You get those expenses down, you get that debt down, and you put some money away. Pay yourself first. And then you have the money to be able to then transition into investing. So that's so key to this whole uh, saving versus investing. And we hope that helped everybody with understanding that. Just one right quick, we're going to give a shout out and we out of here. Carl, what's up? Modestine, Linda, my sister Linda, Rodney Madison Sr., Garnett, Rodney Madison at NoteExperience.com. Nolia, thank you. Vincent Atkins, way to be on, Vincent. Kitty, thank you for being out there, Kitty, and tuning in. And let's talk about backdoor Roth. Okay, after Modestine, we want to talk about backdoor Roth after Thanksgiving. Like, thank you all. And I'm going to end with the quote for the day is faith
Bob,
is to believe.
Bob,
Yes.
Bob, we're not meeting next week. Next week's the holiday.
That's right. We don't do that. We don't do a holiday. So we won't see you next week. You see you the week after that. Quote for the day is faith is to believe what you do not see. And the reward of faith is to see what you believe. All right, dope. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Have a good one, y'all all. Peace be with you all. See y'all not next week, week after next, dope. And that will be the 5th, December the 5th. We see y'all then. Have a good one, y'all. Thank you for tuning in.
Peace.